Climate crisis is one of the most pressing challenges facing our world today. As nations strive to limit global temperature rise, the Eastern Mediterranean and Middle Eastern (EMME) region faces unique hurdles. With a heavy reliance on fossil fuels and a significant share of global carbon emissions, the path to carbon neutrality here is complex. This video will explore recent research from Khalifa University that provides the first national emission allocation evaluation for EMME countries. We'll break down what realistic and fair emissions targets look like and how these nations can contribute to the global effort to achieve net zero emissions. Let's begin by understanding the global context and why the EMME region's role is so critical. To keep global warming below 2 degrees C, the world must reduce net CO2 emissions by 25% from 2010 levels by 2030 and reach net zero by 2070. Even more ambitious reductions are needed to limit warming to 1.5 degrees C. While regions like the European Union and Canada have set 2050 as their carbon neutrality target, the EMME region, which includes countries such as Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, and the UAE, faces greater challenges due to economic dependence on fossil fuels. Despite representing only 5.5% of the global population, EMME countries contribute over 8% of global carbon dioxide emissions. This disproportionate impact underscores the importance of tailored solutions for the region. Achieving fair emissions reductions requires considering each country's responsibility, capability, and equality. Responsibility refers to both current and historical emissions, capability is about the ability to pay for mitigation, and equality means equal rights per person. The Paris Agreement recognizes these common but differentiated responsibilities, but lacks universally agreed guidelines for what is fair and realistic. Khalifa University's research proposes quantitative criteria to address this gap, ensuring that no country is overburdened and that targets are achievable. This approach helps balance the needs of developing nations with those of wealthier, high-emitting countries. Led by Dr. Steve Griffiths and collaborators from the Cyprus Institute, the research team at Khalifa University developed new approaches for equitable national emission allocations for 2030 across 17 EMME countries. Their methods compare each country's nationally determined contributions (NDCs) with what's needed to meet global climate goals. Study found that to align with a 1.5 degrees C warming scenario, emissions in the EMME region must drop by nearly 50% by 2030 compared to 2019 levels. This research, published in the journal Climate Policy, is the first to provide national-level guidance for realistic and fair emissions targets in the region. To ensure emissions targets are both realistic and fair, the researchers set specific criteria. No country should be required to reduce emissions by more than 80% compared to 2019, no country's abatement target should exceed the regional average by more than 50%, and the range of targets between countries should be less than 80%. These guidelines help prevent undue hardship on any single nation, especially those with lower incomes or recovering from conflict. By applying these principles, the study identifies two approaches that balance ambition with practicality, making them suitable for adoption across the EMME region. Not all EMME countries face the same challenges. For example, Syria, Palestine, and Egypt may need temporary emissions increases to support development, while wealthier nations like Qatar, Kuwait, and the UAE are expected to make larger reductions. The research shows that a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. Instead, emissions reduction targets should reflect each country's economic situation, historical emissions, and capacity for change. This nuanced approach ensures that the transition to a low-carbon economy is both just and effective, supporting sustainable growth across the region. Study found that only a few EMME countries such as Greece, Iran, Israel, Jordan, and the UAE have set climate targets that align with the necessary reductions to prevent more than 2 degrees C of warming. Even fewer Jordan, UAE, and Palestine are on track for the 1.5 degrees C target. Many countries including Egypt, Iraq, and Turkey are expected to increase emissions compared to 2016. However, these targets still represent a significant slowdown in emissions growth compared to doing nothing. The gap between current commitments and what's needed highlights the urgency for stronger, more ambitious policies. To achieve net zero, countries with high GDP per capita and high emissions, like Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia, must diversify their energy sources and invest in low-carbon technologies. These nations have the financial resources to lead the transition and set an example for others. Regional cooperation, such as renewable electricity trade and technology sharing, along with financial support for less wealthy countries, can help the entire EMME region move toward the Paris Agreement goals. The UAE, for instance, is already demonstrating leadership in climate policy and renewable energy. Road to carbon neutrality in the EMME region is challenging, but achievable with fair and realistic targets. Khalifa University's research provides a blueprint for balancing ambition with practicality, ensuring that each country contributes according to its capacity and responsibility. Regional collaboration, innovation, and financial support are key to success. As the world moves toward net zero, the EMME region's progress will be vital for global climate goals. By working together, these countries can not only reduce emissions but also drive sustainable development for future generations.